Hey guys, we're over in the other corner of the bench today. You hardly ever see this corner, but this is where I keep my Dillon 550 for loading pistol ammo, and it's also where I keep my two tools that I use to deprime and prime cases. So today what we're going to do is go over how I deprime and then show you what I use to prime cases. Okay, one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do I organize my brass? You know, what do I store it in? People want to see pictures of my bench and stuff like that. You know, it's nothing fancy what I do. I use a lot of these Costco cashew bottles, these red top things here. And I also use some old Folgers instant coffee cans. They work pretty well. That's the other little plastic one back there. And I just have these shelves. My dad built me this corner bench here. It sweeps around like that. And it works really well. And it's just set down here in the basement of my house. But just real simple, real easy. You can see there's sticky notes all over everything. That tells me how many times it's been fired, things like that. But that's what I do, and then I have these little bins. You can buy these at Walmart, these white and black ones, and they stack real nice, and it's easy to keep everything segregated. So when you're done, you have little piles like this, and then as you can see, I've got sticky notes on everything. So anyway, let's get started. Let's talk about the press. This is just an old RCBS JR2 press. It's one of the first ones I ever bought. I think I found it in a garage sale. It is what I use for depriming, and that's about all I use it for. On the top there, that's an RCBS universal decapping die. It's great. I love it. It's the only time that I will say that RCBS makes better die than Redding is on their decapping die. And you can use any shell holder you want. Right now it has a Redding in it for doing 7WSM brass. And then over here we've got the bench-mounted automatic priming tool. This one is from RCBS. I like this one a lot. It's pretty much all I use anymore. Over here we have the old hand priming tools. These are RCBS too. They're okay, but they have their issues, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let me go ahead and set this back on a tripod and we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out the brass in one bin. And I've got these little shelves that pull out, little breadboards. My dad really likes breadboards, so do I. So now I have two bins. Just going to start depriming, and it's just that easy. And the advantage to this is that all this crap, this carbon, little chunks of primer, the anvils, all that kind of stuff, they get this press dirty instead of my main press, so I don't have to worry about it as much. And as you can see, this is full of primers from the last couple of years probably. I've run in the Dillon plus all my rifle ammunition. But it's just really easy to start popping primers. Okay, the next step as far as the primers go after I pop them out is to clean out the pockets before they go in the tumbler. This is a primer uniforming tool. I don't even remember who makes it. I bought it a very long time ago. It's basically for uniforming pockets, meaning cutting them to a consistent depth. It also works very well for cleaning out all the carbon in the bottom of a pocket. So it has a small and a large. We're going to use the large, obviously. You can see all the junk down there in the bottom of that. I'm just going to swipe it. And it just cleans out the carbon, and that's it. You can use pretty much anything you want to do that. A lot of guys don't even do that. They just, with all the new stainless steel tumblers on the market, you can just throw them in there and not even worry about that part of it. But I'm still using a corncob tumbler, so I like to clean out that junk. I always forget to mention this, but you know, one of the advantages to depriming in a separate step like this is to keep your press clean, but it also keeps your dies clean. Everything I've done now, all the dirty parts, everything's going to get done before it goes anywhere near the die. It's all going to go through the tumbler, and you know, once I put lube on the case, it's about as clean as I'm going to get it. So that's a really big advantage on top of keeping your press clean. Okay, these are the RCBS hand priming tools. I use these for a lot of years. The problems that I had with them is they have just a metal bar. This is the priming plug deal that goes in it. And then at the bottom there's a pivot, you know, kind of a round cup that it sits in. So you have a round surface down there and you have a round surface here. So the thought behind it is when you seat the primer, this only comes up so far and stops, and you can't, you know, put too much pressure on it. You can't crush the cup of the primer. The problem is if you have a tight pocket, or the specs on the rod are a little bit different, or the specs in the little fulcrum at the bottom is off, you might not get that primer to seat all the way. So You know, I had a problem with some of my brass where it had a really tight pocket and it would cam over before the primer was sitting all the way flush in the case. RCBS was really good about it. They sent me a new rod to replace that primer plug, and it worked for a while, but then I think what was happening is it just wears in the bottom. It doesn't mean it's a bad tool, it's just something you have to look for. Once I started using this automatic priming tool, all those problems went away. I absolutely love this machine. It was well worth the money. I think it was only 70 bucks or something as compared to 40 for that. This is a much better, it just feels like it's going to last longer. It works very well. I would highly recommend this RCBS automatic priming tool. So I'll show you how it works. Okay, the automatic priming tool has a priming tube. This tube will hold 100 primers. The easiest way I found to load it is to use my Dillon primer flipper tray right here. So the way this works is you just dump the primers into the tray. Make sure you didn't miss any. And then I'm going to swiggle that thing around a little bit. If I find one stray one, I'll flip it up. Now they're all facing the right direction. Flip her over. Primers are ready to load. Okay, to load primers, you just put this tube right on top of them, like that. And it just picks them up on that little plastic tip. Okay, we have our tube loaded with primers now. It's not all the way full, I just put what was left in this box. We're loading 260 cases for the Sheep Hunter. You guys haven't seen the Sheep Hunter yet, but I'm going to be using it a little bit in this next season we have coming up. But anyway, once we get them all loaded in the tube, you pull the cotter pin, and what it does is it lets the primers fall all the way down, and there's a little detent button here. So when you push down on the handle, you can see this primer plug contacts that detent and lets the primer fall out. So now we have a primer sitting in that cup, right side up, ready to go. So we just pull the handle down, grab a case, prime it, put it right in the loading block. It's easy as that. Load another primer, prime it, put it in the block. If you don't want to slap it, you can do this too. This machine has pretty good feel. You know, the bench resters all say you got to have good feel on your priming. I've tried all kinds of different things, and I'll tell you, I haven't seen much difference in performance. But anyway, this machine is really solid. I really like it. I recommend this to everybody. I did a review on this on the website if you want to go take a look at that. But it's very just solid. I mean, it feels like it's going to last forever. So I highly recommend them. This is the RCBS automatic priming tool. Alright, well that does it on depriming and priming cases. Stay tuned, we're going to do a little talking about using an expander die coming up pretty soon. We're going to use this Sheep Hunter here behind me. It's a 260 Remington, do a little bit of hunting this next month. Sharper pencils in the drawer. Might have noticed that I was loading these with 250 primers, CCI 250s, which are a Magnum primer. Yes, they work very well on 260 Remington, so that's something to keep in mind. I've tried all of them. I've tried the BR2s, the 200s, 215s, 210s, CCI 250s. There was hardly any difference at all among all those primers. So I bought a lot of CCI 250s so I can stock up on one kind of primer that will ignite a lot of different cases. So something to keep in mind. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.